You're listening to Podcast PXN,
a video game podcast
delivering player experience news.
Let's go!
What's up, guys, and welcome to Podcast PXN, episode 186. I am one of your hosts, Daniel Prindle, aka Dan is DTM on Twitter, and I am joined over Discord by the Nintendo aficionado and artist extraordinaire, Roshan Warner, at Roro. Oh my god.
I'm so sorry. I thought that was going to be a quiet one.
Hi. Oh my god.
For everyone at home.
Perfect timing.
Yeah, that was not Ro, just to be clear.
That was the most disgusting thing I've ever done. I'm so sorry.
Oh my god.
And the most disgusting thing ever, I guess, came from the DMZ daddy, the Tarkov Teletubby himself, Gage Dempster, at Gilbo Biggins.
Hell yeah, brother. What's going on?
Hi. And Christian is not joining us this week, but he will return.
Kirk is laughing in the chat.
Yes. Yes, thank you, Kirik, as always, joining us in the chat. And thank you to everyone else joining us in the chat and participating as well. Just as a reminder, we are live each and every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on youtube.com/@podcastpxn and twitch.tv/podcastpxn as well. The topic of the show this week, guys, is our Mario movie reviews. It'll be interesting because I didn't realize Christian isn't here, so we may not may not get as much flack, you know. I don't know.
Did who's all seen the Mario movie?
I think it's only Dan, actually.
Oh,
it's only you.
All right. Well,
but I could, I've done research.
I can imagine that I've seen it. I can pretend that I saw it.
Well, we might have to make a pivot in the middle of this episode. Well,
okay.
The title's Mario.
Let's just get wild with it. Let's just fucking see where the wind takes us.
Yes.
Let's just open the sails and see where we go.
This is gonna be great.
God damn it. Christian suggesting topics you're not even on the show.
Exactly.
How dare he?
I think that's what screwed me up. He suggested it, and then he's not. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's why you thought he was on today. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was sabotaging. He's like, I'm not going to be there. What do I give a shit?
Yeah. Oh my god. All right. Well, but first, guys, the show always starts with the quick bites. So let's go ahead and jump right in. The first item on our quick bites, guys, Ubisoft has announced X Defiant Showcase coming on April 13th, which is, of course, tomorrow, Thursday, for anyone listening after the fact, at 10 a.m. Pacific time. So make sure you stay tuned for that, I guess.
Yes. Yeah.
We'll see.
We'll see about that. There's a busy day tomorrow. I think there's some other items in Quick Bites where there's some other showcases.
Yes.
I believe. But yeah, X Defiant is one of them. I think, yeah.
Yes. And you know what? I might as well just go over those because I stupidly put this together and forgot that was at the top. So I should have moved it together with the other ones, and I didn't. So
before we move on to the next one, I do want to just jump on this whole X Defiant thing.
Yeah.
This one's a bit interesting. I don't know. I'm trying to see how I navigate this carefully. I was, let's say, under the impression that
this wasn't in development anymore.
Not necessarily. It's not that. Let's just say I had a chance to play this game a long, long time ago.
Okay.
And it was really not great at all. And that was kind of the impression that a lot of people had. It seemed like a total cash grab. But about a month or two ago, Tom Henderson had an article that I guess he had either seen firsthand or was talking to people. Apparently the game's come quite a long way, and they've pivoted from, again, according to Tom Henderson, they've kind of pivoted a bit and have made their own kind of little slice of the first-person market. So like it's very interesting with this one because I'm hearing a lot of positive buzz about this, and like I said, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, was not my experience at all. So I'm curious to see how this shakes out. I might actually tune in for this.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wish them the best for sure. But like you're saying, the first time we saw it wasn't like super. Did set the world on fire. Not every game does, I guess. Not every game has to. I mean, but yeah, I'm interested to see if they did turn around like you're saying. That would be exciting.
Yeah. I hope they did because it felt it was. It seemed DOA when I played it, to be honest, and now I'm hearing totally different things and like hearing a lot of positive buzz. So that's kind of it seems like it almost kind of seems like what's going on behind the scenes before launch is what happened with Rainbow Six Siege after launch, if you know what I mean. So I'm curious to check out this check this out and see how this game is shaping up.
You know what, Glenn? Riddle me this. Why is it every time Daniel Prindle hosts, he has so much trouble, but is the founder? You know what, Glenn?
You know what? That is a fair question. I think we need to look into that.
Disrespect.
We should launch an investigation.
Oh, gosh. We should launch an investigation into the next state of play that is coming tomorrow as well, guys, for Final Fantasy 16. Thursday as well for anyone listening after the fact at 5 p.m. Eastern time, 2 p.m. Pacific. So at least it's at a different time than the X Defiant showcase. And watch it all, right? You know.
Thank God we don't have to
divvy up our time.
Yeah, between X Defiant and Final Fantasy 16. Luckily we can see both of these.
And
can I just say? No, go ahead.
I know Ro and Christian are very excited about Final Fantasy 16. That's the only thing I was going to say.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to stop myself right there.
What were you going to say, Gage?
I was going to continue the energy that Ro brought into this, which is just, now! Can we get a state of play about games that matter? No, I'm just kidding. No. I'm just kidding, bro. Wow. I'm just kidding.
Oh my God. To an extent,
time.
Yeah. No, I'm very excited about Final Fantasy 16. And as I said in the chat, like, I don't need to see more. I will take more. But I do agree that, like, it would be nice to see some other games right now. We know that Final Fantasy is coming. We know it looks good. What else you got, PlayStation? I'm ready for the next game that you have on the horizon, which is
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, I guess. Yeah.
It's we don't know. It's a lot more than that, though, right? Like, what's their 2024 catalog? What's their 2025 catalog? You have no idea.
I guess. Yeah.
And like that's the one thing that you can point to that Xbox does better. The Xbox is very good at telling you the things they're working on. They're not very good at getting them out. But we know what the Xbox catalog looks like in terms of exclusives and first parties for the next 2-3 years. But PlayStation, you're a year behind. I want this big conference. I don't give a shit about Cloud or Strife or fucking or Anifa or whoever else that anyone might be. I want to know where is Miles. Where's Miles and where's Peter?
Send your hate mail to @GilboBiggins on Twitter.
Do it, please. Honestly, I need a sparring match. I just need somebody to just come and.
Kirik asks if Final Fantasy 16 is an MMO or a standalone game. I believe it's a third
standalone
person. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's Final Fantasy, so it's both and neither at the same time.
It's like Final Fantasy Remake, Kirok. It's a single-player RPG, but it's by the same people who made the MMO. The writers are doing the story from Final Fantasy 14. Yeah.
Excellent. And you know what else is excellent? I almost said Breath of the Wild. Whoops. Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is getting a live stream tomorrow to show off the final pre-launch trailer for Tears of the Kingdom. And it, of course, is again Thursday, this time at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 7 a.m. Pacific. So bright and early, we get our final trailer. Exciting.
Very exciting. My favorite trailer, one of my favorite trailers from video games, is the Breath of the Wild trailer. And I think, well, not just anyone, but the last one that they did before it released, it was so hyped. The music was fantastic. And I'm wondering if that's going to top it. I think it can. I'm very excited. This is probably going to be similar to the one that I'm thinking of, where it's a little bit longer and it's more story based. So I'm very excited to watch this.
Heck yes. Do you think we get any tease of like anything else new that we haven't seen yet? Or do you think they'll just kind of cover everything we kind of saw in that last overview?
I think we'll get some little teases in there. It's a 3-minute long one, a 3-minute long trailer. I assume that there'll like be some little tidbits that we haven't seen yet. I hope. Yeah.
That'd be awesome. All right. Well, continuing on Nintendo's train, Nintendo has announced a live event coming to Seattle, announcing Nintendo Live 2023, an in-person event for fans of all ages that will take place in Seattle this September. Experience Nintendo Switch gameplay, live stage performances, tournaments, photo ops, and more. Stay tuned for more details. Very cool. Kind of like the PSX, I think, from a while back that PlayStation did, and very cool to kind of see this stuff come back.
Yeah. I hope that they eventually expand to different states and hopefully countries as well. See this come to like Canada, perhaps, or other places. I think they already not under this name. I don't think Nintendo Live, but I think they do events like this in parts of Asia already. But I know they've done like live stage performances with like the Splatoon characters before. So it'd be cool to expand that to different places, because I know a lot of people are interested in that and just don't have the funds to go to Japan when it happens. So yeah, I think it's cool because they have fans everywhere.
Very cool indeed. July 19th, you could come to Kentucky, Nintendo. We're already bringing people. Yeah.
There we go.
Come on,
we'll bring the people. You bring all the other stuff.
Anywho, guys, we've gotten a little bit of a look at what could have been for the Call of Duty game that never came from Sledgehammer Games. Former Sledgehammer Games senior creative director says in an interview with MinMax that Advanced Warfare 2 was in development before Call of Duty World War II, but it was an executive decision to switch to World War II. Says there was some internal demo level created back in 2015. He also says the first Call of Duty Sledgehammer Games was working on was a Call of Duty meets Uncharted type action adventure game and was a third-person brutal war experience. This sounds real cool. I think Gage shared this with us in the chat, and it sounded like it would have been really cool, especially coming from the developers of Dead Space, Glenn Schofield and Michael Condrey, who started Sledgehammer. That would have been really cool if they would have been able to kind of create what they wanted, I guess.
Well, for a franchise like Call of Duty, you have one every year, so it makes me so angry. And first of all, this is yet again confirmation that publishers that own IP do have final say. Like it says here, clear as day, this is an executive decision. The studio had an idea in mind of what they wanted to work on. They came in and said, "No, you're doing this." So that's just a small thing, but that's in case anyone needs to know. Like a lot of these decisions that when games end up terribly, it's not really the studio. It's more likely than not, it's like this person puts an executive decision. But it does, to get back to my main point, it makes me very angry with certain franchises, specifically Call of Duty, where even though there's no official, it's just 1 year of support, like they have one coming out every year. If you decide to let one of your teams do a third-person action adventure and people didn't jive with it, you could just easily keep on making battle passes for the other one, keep on pumping out content, and people will buy it, and you will make more than enough money. So, very, very unfortunate that, Call of Duty especially, they're not able to experiment like this, because if you have one coming out every year, I mean, that would be the perfect franchise in my mind to experiment with. It's like, okay, Modern Warfare 2 came out, and then it's like Advanced Warfare 2 is a third-person action adventure game. And if, again, people don't jive with it, they just keep playing Modern Warfare 2. If they do jive with it, then they play that one. And then Black Ops comes out, and maybe that is a different game, and kind of, this is super unfortunate, and I would love to see the studios stretch their wings, because a lot of these studios, especially Treyarch, has history doing things that aren't Call of Duty, and they did them very well.
Yeah, that's very fair. They created the original Spider-Man trilogy that a lot of people liked, at least the first couple. So
they did, the second one that everybody loves with the momentum swinging. That was them. That was Treyarch. People forget that.
Yeah. Indeed. What could have been? What could have been? All right, the next one, I made a slight joke here in my notes, but Nintendo hates their fans, guys. No, I don't think they legitimately.
They do.
I don't think they legitimately hate their fans, but they do some things sometimes that you're like, okay, yeah. months after he revealed it in a YouTube video, YouTuber Point Crow's Breath of the Wild multiplayer mod is now out publicly, and Nintendo is filing copyright claims against it. This kind of stuff bums me out just because, like, this dude, I'm sure, poured a bunch of effort and work into this to, like, make this work, and, like, it's super cool that he was able to get it to work and everything, and, like, my thing is, like, there's nothing hurting your IP from having this out there. Like, I don't see why Nintendo is so, like, their grasp is so strong on this kind of stuff, because it's like, it's a fan-made thing, and obviously if they were selling it, that would be a different thing, because you can, you know, that has to be taken down. You can't sell the product, but, like, to have this free for people to check out, I don't see the harm in it, and it is a little disappointing, I think.
Yeah, I agree. It's yeah, it's just the same. They do this with a lot of fan stuff, and like you said, most of the time they aren't usually making money off of it. It's just like a passion project that they wanted to put together and share with people. And yeah, again, like you were alluding to, it is Nintendo's property, and they can protect it or not protect it however they deem to. But they are extremely strict, where other developers just are very lax about these sort of things, which is kind of sad. I wish Nintendo just kind of, I don't know, got with it. I don't even know if got with the times is the right word, but their IP are just so beloved, and people love it so much, and they just want to share with as many people as possible. I wish they would just get behind that. And again, like, they're not really hurting Nintendo sales in any way. So yeah, it's a little bit of a bummer. But did you guys hear about this? It is kind of on this Nintendo spiel that I'm on, but a little bit different. But did you hear about Monster Energy trying to sue Pokemon and Monster Hunter?
Oh,
Like, just because they were using the word monster. I think they did it.
God.
Are you serious?
They did it for. Remember when they did it for Ubisoft and Immortals Phoenix Rising, and it was before it was called Gods and Monsters, before they changed the name.
Yeah.
And then Monster actually won that, and they changed the name to Immortal Phoenix Rising. Now they went after an indie game recently, and I think it's still going on, or they lost, or they won. I don't know how that one ended, but after that one was over, they're like, you know what? Feeling good about myself right now. They just tried to go after Pokemon,
wow,
and Monster Hunter. I don't think they won that one. I think those were immediately shut down, rightfully so. But it's just like, what are you doing? You think you own the word monster? Like, so
which
weird.
is super unfortunate, because it leads me to believe in the cases where they won, quote unquote, against smaller companies. It's like, did they win, or did the company not have the money to go up against Monster, right? Because that's ridiculous. If it was shut down immediately by the other two, that makes me to think that, like, okay, well, if it would have actually gotten to court, hopefully it's the same. You know what I mean? Like, it's the same. If it's just as ridiculous
and usually that kind of thing is like, the companies are worried about people confusing the brands, but it's like, how do you confuse an energy drink with a video game? What?
It's like, I thought there was going to be Monster Energy. I thought I was hunting Monster Energy drinks. It's not actual monsters.
You open up a pack of Pokemon cards. You're like, "Where's my energy drink? I don't understand."
Oh my goodness, crazy! Terrible. That was wild. I heard about that on the on Skill Up's weekly games news wrap up that he does on Mondays or whatever. That was crazy.
I just love unchecked capitalism, man. It's just crazy. It's great.
Insane.
Nintendo, stop, please.
Guys, Joe Staten, of course, the beloved writer of the original Halo trilogy and ODST and Reach, has announced that he is leaving Microsoft. This comes on the back of him already pretty much being pushed out of 343 in January by Microsoft because of their layoff situation. At least this is my conjecture, but their layoffs happened, and essentially they needed more help on the publishing team. So they're like, Joe, we need you to come back to the publishing team, because he was there previously. And so essentially, you know, now he's leaving Microsoft on the back of that. My conjecture is because, you know, he was forced into going back to publishing. He really didn't want to do that. I feel like he got like a love of Halo again, going to 343, working with them. Because, like, even his posts on Twitter, like, he was always posting about the team and the game and everything else. So I do think that kind of bummed him out and kind of made him take a step back and like look at what he wants to do next. So disappointing news that obviously he's leaving Microsoft now. But I'll be interested to see what he does next and see if he does something cool. I'm excited. I don't know.
Yeah, on a personal level, I'm excited to see what Joe does, especially because, like you said, he's kind of seems like he has this renewed sort of vigor for the creative side of video game stuff. But you could say to be a Debbie Downer, I would say to be the realist in the room, just to like this again, another worrying mismanagement at Xbox, just as a company. It seems like this is just a continuing thread.
Or Microsoft even as a whole.
Yeah.
But absolutely. Keurig says, you mean I don't have to pour the energy drink into my PS5? Probably wouldn't do that. Probably
No.
not.
Apparently not. I mean, Monster's really looking out for us, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Make sure we don't do
all
that.
they want.
Yeah. Anywho. All right. Joe, best wishes. But we will move on to Star Wars Jedi Survivor's final gameplay trailer that got released, and it looks hot. I think, Ro, you shared this in the chat first, and I watched it, and I'm just like, I'm ready. I'm ready for some Jedi Survivor. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in the same position as I was last week, where I was
Fair.
like, if it was something else, I may be more into it. Not super on the Star Wars train right about now, but I was like, it was a really cool trailer. I have to admit it was cool. There was like a moment where he used the Force to like throw a stormtrooper up at a flying what are those called? What are those? I don't even remember what those ships
TIE
are called.
fighters?
now.
Oh,
Like, yes, TIE fighters. Yeah, when he did that, that was a cool moment. There's a couple of other fights that are actual gameplay moments that were cool as well. So yeah, maybe someday when I'm back into Star Wars, I'm sure that'll happen eventually. But yeah, right now I'm still not super hyped on it right now.
And this game looks pretty. I'm just excited to like see the different worlds, see the different visual variety. Anywho, we won't be seeing much more visual variety in Media Molecule's project of Dreams. So they have announced the end of support for Dreams that is coming in September. And they have also announced storage limits that they're placing on it coming next month as well. So obviously not great news for Dreams, but they did also announce that they are working on a new project as a result of this. I'm sure they've been working on it already before this announcement, but I'll be interested to see what they do next. Disappointing for Dreams. I think this is kind of the same boat that Project Spark fell in with Xbox, because that was another really cool creation game type engine thing. But it went away because it just didn't get the popularity, I guess, unfortunately.
Right. Is Dreams on PC yet or no?
No.
No.
Well, okay. So similar to our VR conversation
Yes.
last week, Sony, you're shooting yourselves in the foot.
Yep.
If you just loosened up your internal sort of ideology on exclusivity, this game would have killed on PC if it came day one. This is exactly the type of entry level, like look at Fortnite Creative, right? This would have beaten that by what, a year and a half? I can't remember when Dreams actually first came.
I think more than that.
Yeah, it might have been 2 years ago, right? 2-3 years ago.
Might even be more than that too. Yeah.
Seriously?
I don't remember.
February of 2020. So 3
Okay.
It was
years.
3 years. Okay.
Okay, you would have. Yeah, I. It sucks because you're caught between feeling bad for the studio and kind of like, well, fuck you, Sony. This is what you get for being stupid. But yeah, it sucks. Dreams looked like a lot of fun, and I would have jumped into that. The fact that I was limited to playing it on console is what stopped me from trying it out. But this is exactly the type of content creation stuff that I look forward to, and like we've seen with Fortnite Creative, a lot of people, there is an audience for this, and Halo Infinite Forge, right? Like,
Right.
These are systems. You can't really call them a game genre, but these are systems that gamers do enjoy. Doesn't matter that everyone doesn't use them. Enough people will to keep the rest of the player base happy. It's just with this one, the console player base is not at all the same as the PC in terms of wanting to mess around with stuff like that. So super unfortunate. Totally avoidable. This could have been fine.
I'm excited for what they're doing next, though. Media Molecule. I agree with everything that Gage says. Like, if these tools were available on PC, that would be huge for that community, because I know they love making games over there. Like the RPG Maker crowd just puts out crazy awesome stuff that ends up on Game of the Year list for some people sometimes. And they're like legit, actual great games on Dreams, but like you said, the audience is only confined to PlayStation, so not everybody got to play them. But in the same breath, I'm excited that Media Molecule isn't like done because of this, because obviously it wasn't a huge success, and they still get a chance to do something next, whether that's Little Big Planet or something new. Very excited to see what they do next, because they make some really creative stuff over there. So yeah,
absolutely. And there's bound to be some kind of cool creation aspect to their next game, I feel like, because of their history. So yeah, that'd be cool. Keurig agrees with us. Should have brought it to PC. Agreed.
Yeah. It's because Keurig is based, as always.
But you know who else is base, Gage? You were just talking about Forge and how important that is. 3 brand new community-made Forge maps are being inserted into the Community Collection playlist for Halo Infinite. They announced this, I believe, yesterday. It came with the update that came yesterday. They are Curfew, Solution, Vagabond. Very cool maps. I played them a little bit yesterday. One of them is like a really cool like cityscape. It has different like areas. Like there's an arcade. Like he built out arcade machines and stuff in it. So yeah, like these are really cool maps. And I'm excited that we continuously keep getting new maps. And this almost is like a mid-season like refresh of content, even if it's not coming from 343. It's very cool that we're getting this. But a new patch, guys, is coming for The Last of Us Part 1, or actually already came for PS5, not for PC. And those issues are still ongoing. Which we had that...
situation is ongoing.
we talked about it last week, how Naughty Dog was kind of throwing under the bus their development partner, whose name is now escaping me for some reason. We were just talking about it last week, and now I've forgotten. But anywho, yeah, they keep name dropping them on Twitter, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, all right, enough. Like, you guys could maybe not keep mentioning them. Like, we're working with them. Like,
you know what it is? It's the it's for anyone who's ever worked retail. It's kind of like when you work at a retail store, especially when that's like part of like a franchise. The store does well, the company's doing well. The store does bad, the team's bad. You know what I mean? It's one of the, it has that same kind of vibe where it's like, if this had come out on PC and like was flawless, Naughty Dog would have been like, you know, we just wanted to bring you guys the best experience. We're so happy we were able to do it. But like you said, yeah, as soon as everything went wide, it's like, oh well, you know what? We and I also can't remember the studio, but it's like, yeah,
Iron Galaxy
and this studio.
Yeah.
What is it?
Iron Galaxy.
Yeah. Us and Iron Galaxy, we're both working on it. Don't worry. It's like one of those things where it's like, all right, come on. I totally agree with you though, Dan. It's been like, it's very blatant almost. Like now that you see it, it's like you can't help but notice every time they do an update, they can't.
Right.
If it's a negative tweet, Iron Galaxy is in there.
Yeah.
They just start calling out specific employees eventually, like Phil in the freaking IT department is like freaking put in this bug last week.
Janine, you know what? Janine was supposed to look this over, guys. Are really unfortunate. We're really disappointed as well, but
anyways, back to the PS5 patch. The PS5 patch that is coming, or actually already came out, adds some new Ellie t-shirts that comes from the HBO series, which includes the Mortal Kombat 2 t-shirt from the show, as well as, I believe, the Wire shirt as well.
It does, yes.
Yeah, so that's really cool that they added those in there.
That is cool. I love that. Did you guys... I mean, I guess maybe I wonder if like how many of us change the outfits when we replay. I did like a couple of times. I just thought it was interesting. I think this is awesome, but I just like, did you guys change the outfits replaying the games?
I did not.
Age, did you ever?
Kind of. So because of the way that my brain works and how
the cinematicness of
I'm not all there. Exactly. If I'm playing a game where I'm not. It's not a create your own character game. It's an established character. I have to keep it cinematic and immersive. So I did, but I only changed I started it over and I had like Ellie with her like final outfit, like her spring outfit, and then I maybe put like a heavy jacket on Joel. But like all the stuff where it's like,
the goggles.
No, I never messed around with that stuff. But
me neither.
And I actually stopped doing that because I noticed that it doesn't happen frequently. But if there's cutscenes where the clothes are supposed to move, it doesn't because it's obviously a different model. So like I was doing that, I was playing through a second time, and Lynn was watching me, and this was after we had watched the show, and it was the scene where Tess is bit, and she rolls up Ellie's sleeve, but like she was wearing a different outfit, so nothing happened. And Lynn's like, "That's weird. What's happening?" I was like, "Oh, it's because of." And then after that, I took it off immediately, and So I usually don't mess around with that stuff, but it is kind of neat to add.
Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely don't mess, especially with Resident Evil 4 remake that I've been playing. Like, there's a ton of clothing options.
Cat ear Leon?
No, come on. It breaks my immersion because like I'm playing and I'm like, why does Leon have blue hair? Like, that's no.
So is there any non-immersion breaking alternate outfits for him? Because I haven't beat the game yet, but that's the type of thing where it's like if there was like a cool camo outfit for him, it's like that's the type of stuff I'll mess around with. But like I've seen clips of him wearing like the gangster outfit. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm never gonna do that.
There's definitely some really campy outfits that he has, but there is some like traditional ones as well. That's fair.
Okay.
And also there's like accessories like sunglasses. So of course, like, you know, there's nothing crazy about sunglasses, but it is a little weird that he's wearing them all the time.
A game that takes place almost entirely at night.
Yes,
wearing
exactly.
sunglasses.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Anywho. All right, our last quick bite. Rose shared this with us today. The Australian government is seeking to classify all games with loot boxes as mature, which means, and you came up with this reference, Ro, that Madden possibly could get a mature rating over there, which is insane. That would be kind of funny, actually.
Yeah.
Good. You know what? I love this. I love this because this is the only way to get publishers to ease up on this is to start fucking with their money. As soon as the Madden goes from a T to an M, they're gonna start panicking. They're going to start panicking, and we're suddenly going to come up with. We might not get rid of microtransactions. I don't think we ever will, but suddenly you'll start to see alternatives being explored. Whereas if this stuff doesn't happen, it's just going to keep on going and going. So I love this personally. I love this.
Just to play devil's advocate for a second, will the M rating actually deter people? Because like Call of Duty sells so well, and a lot of kids play Call of Duty, and that's M rated. Obviously,
it will. I think it will.
Yeah.
I don't think no. Obviously, yes. Obviously, kids under 17 play Call of Duty.
Right.
But I think it will affect. This is the thing. All it has to do is affect it in a noticeable way, right? If the next Madden game comes out and it's rated M and it sells even 5%, 7% less than the year before. And that's the only difference. That's what makes these executives, as we were talking about earlier, that's the only thing they care about. So they'll immediately start looking at that. So do I think it'll stop people from playing Madden? Absolutely not. And like, I'm sure there's a bunch of kids out there that will be able to explain to their parents why. There absolutely are parents out there that won't care. They'll see the M and they'll say, no, you're not playing it. Because working at EB Games, I've seen that. And growing up with strict parents, I had to deal with that. But all it has to do is affect it enough for executives to notice, and I think it will do that. So I like this a lot, and I think that's totally fair. If you have a game that's not a one-time purchase and you're able to spend money in that, it should be rated accordingly because you can have kids, using mom's credit card and XYZ, and so I agree with this wholeheartedly. I think this is fair, and I think that this will probably have a good ripple effect.
Agreed. Yeah. And I what you said about the parents buying Call of Duty, I think it'll just be so jarring for those who don't understand and the kids potentially having to explain it. But when parents come in and buy GTA for their kids, they know why it's rated M. Yeah. But when they like look at a FIFA box and like, why the hell is this rated M? And then their kid will have to explain it to them. It's like, I'm gonna buy this. But obviously, like you said, just like Call of Duty, there'll be parents who will be okay with it. But I think it'll just be so much jarring to see that M rating on a freaking FIFA game than it is on a one with a dude with a gun.
Well,
It's just like, wow,
EA
that'd be
Sports
crazy.
FC now, bro.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Wow, the sales are just going to keep going down. The name change, the M rating. Oh god. Yikes.
I really would love to hear a conversation between a kid and their parents. Like, no, I swear, mom and dad, it's just rated M because of loot boxes. It's not. Yeah, there's no nudity in this. Or,
they're not killing people on the soccer field. It's fine.
Dan, I
don't
have enough personal experience I can give you so many monologues. The only reason that I love Halo is the one M game that I was allowed to play, and that took a lot of convincing. Mom, they're aliens. They're just aliens. I swear. They're not real, dude. Like, strict parents are a thing. They're definitely a thing. And Ro, you're totally right. Even from that, like at the checkout counter at EB Games, just that conversation. Well, why is it rated M? Oh, well, there's like, and then like the parents like, oh, you have to buy things after you buy it. Like, again, it doesn't have to be a crazy number, but like, even if it just goes down a little bit, if the percentage goes down a little bit, it's enough that hopefully they'll start rethinking some of this nonsense. Because the sports games are bad. They don't get a lot of negative because the people that play them are kind of like accept it, kind of like Nintendo fans. It's just kind of one of those things where people like are just into it. But like, man, the amount of money you have to spend in these games to have like a chance online is insane.
Absolutely. Insane. Kind of like our one street meat item that we have this week. Sony has submitted a patent for a deformable controller that can change temperature. That is wild. The patent, which was reported on by Exputer, describes a number of conceptual controller features that would enrich haptic experiences with the help of a soft, elastically deformable sensor component. When placed, for example, on the front of a pad, the sensor would detect when the player deforms the controller by pressing, twisting, rubbing,
Bop it, turn it, twist it,
or crushing it. The patent also describes the inclusion of a temperature control apparatus that would allow it to make the accessory hotter or colder depending on player input and likely the gameplay situation. So my brain goes to a weird place when I was describing that first part, but yeah, that would be wild. Like just having like a weird feeling. Like sometimes like I feel like they come up with these things to like try to come up with something different, like
yes.
You know, let's get this gimmick or whatever to sell the next console or the next controller or whatever. I don't know without using this. Obviously the haptics in PS5's DualSense controller are extremely impressive, so maybe they could make something really cool with this though.
It sounds like innovation for innovation's sake.
Yeah.
Might be too much. I think it would be cool if you like walk into like a like in Final Fantasy 16, there's like a lava area.
Oh,
it'd be cool if like your controller heats up a little bit.
Would that be cool though?
But your hands would get sweaty and like your controller might slip a little bit. Like if it's like a perfect amount, like you feel the heat, but it's not intrusive to you actually playing the game effectively. I think it would be cool, but at the same time, if it's not like extreme, what's the point? I guess my hands are already warm.
Yeah.
Like, why make them hotter? But
you know,
it'd be cool if they could figure it out.
It has to burn your hands, damn it.
Here's the problem with this. Not only is this this is just my personal opinion. This is entirely unnecessary. That's one angle of it. And then the other thing is like, can we focus on making a PlayStation controller that lasts longer than 5 hours before you start making it a microwave? Like, how is this gonna work? In like the controllers are like this is. Oh, Jim Ryan's PlayStation. This is Jim Ryan's PlayStation, everyone. This is what it looks like.
Yeah, this will most definitely make the battery life worse.
Yeah, and reliability. I love the idea of elastic, whatever fucking gizmo technology you just named off that's gonna make this work. Like, do we need it though?
Yeah.
Do we need it? Do we need to have a mini like dwarf factory inside every controller with like this tiny little Star Trek crew operating everything, or can it just be a controller that vibrates?
This last part is hilarious too. The combination, the potential of using a combination of magnetic fluid and electric or magnetic fields to change the shape and hardness of the soft spots of the theoretical controller.
I can't wait. I can't wait to take my PS5 controller in for oil changes. That's gonna be great. I love this. This is fantastic. This is great.
That's crazy.
It's wild.
Oh my good lord.
I do have another street meet for you, Dan.
Yeah.
I could just say it though. It's not super crazy. But internal Sega Japan had a meeting and a video leaked, and the video showed off some Sonic Frontiers gameplay that looks a lot better than what we got. But within that trailer, within that video, there was also footage of the Persona 3 remake that has been rumored as well, and it looked like it was in the same style as Persona 5. So obviously crazy improvement there. And on the heels of the re-release of Persona 3 Portable and Persona 4 Golden, it'll be cool to play Persona 3 in that style, because Persona 3 Portable has some pros and cons to it. Like there's some limitations to it that not everybody wants to play Persona 3 that way. So it'll be cool that the remake seems to be true. And as well, in that trailer, there was footage of a Jet Set Radio 3, which has a lot of people excited. So people are, and it seems that leak is true. So we could probably expect announcements of both of those games fairly soon.
Oh yeah, awesome. A lot of people are Jet Set fans, so that'll be interesting. Yeah. All right. Well, let's dive into the PXN news of the week, guys. Resident Evil 4 Remake has gotten some fixes and also some new updates as well. There's a new update that has fixed the dead zone on Xbox. Praise Capcom. Thank you. That was literally my only complaint with Resident Evil 4 Remake was the controls, and I'm glad they fixed it. Of course, they fixed it when I was already like over halfway through the game, but that's fine. I'm happy they fixed it. So that's a cool little shout out there. But they have also added Mercenaries mode, guys, which is kind of like the cool wave-based, I'll call it like arcadey mode that they have for Resident Evil 4. The original had it as well. It is awesome. Like I played it. Fun. Yes, I played it the other night when it released, and it is really addicting. Like you basically just get thrown into these areas. I'm explaining to you, Ro, because I'm sure you probably haven't.
I have not even seen this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I haven't played it or seen it yet.
Okay. You get thrown into these areas from the campaign essentially, and then like you just have to survive as long as you can. Like enemies just keep coming at you from every direction, and you can pick up like power-ups like extra time, refill like your special meter where you get special abilities.
I have seen this actually.
Okay.
I did see this on the Twitter feed this morning. Yeah. It does look cool. It looks
it's very
I think what makes it cool is that like not to like jump in and correct you, but it's not exactly endless. It's that it's
true. Yes. Sorry.
It's like that. It's hard. No, I know it's hard to describe because it's like it's like that time attack almost, like those old school arcade time attack kind of things.
Yeah. And
it's all about getting the high score, and it feels fun to play. It's just like in contrast to everything we've talked about on this episode of all this new stuff that we don't like. It just feels nice and old fashioned where it's like, I'm going to jump in and see how long I can string these combos together for. And I'm going to play it once or twice and then I'm going to be done with it. Like that, like for that session, like it's good. I love this. As soon as they added this, I jumped into it and it's so fun. I love this. I love Mercenaries mode.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And each enemy you kill, you can extend your time. So yeah, it's not endless, but like, and actually, I think there is a hard cap of 100 enemies, so you can't experience more than 100 enemies. But like that's a lot for Resident Evil enemies
for sure.
It takes a lot because some of them are big dudes that take a lot to take them down. So yeah, very cool. Also, we got news that Resident Evil 4 Remake has now sold over 4 million copies worldwide. Very impressive start for the remake. Very happy about that. And it does lend me to ask a few questions, which we'll talk about here in just a second. But first, before that, I also wanted to throw this in here. I love this. IGN did a little like interview with Leon Kennedy's voice actor, which his name is Nick Apostolides. I hope I didn't butcher his last name, but he did a bunch of lines that essentially got cut from Resident Evil 4 Remake, which I thought was really cool. But like, hearing this interview like just made me smile from ear to ear that Capcom casted this guy, because he literally talked about how he idolized the original voice actor for Leon from Resident Evil 4 and loved that game. Like, it's so cool that they were able to find someone that was so perfect, because his Leon is great, to basically follow up with the great performance of the original Resident Evil 4. So I thought that was really cool. I just wanted to throw that in there.
That's awesome.
Cool stuff.
That must be like a dream come true for him.
Yes. Yeah. And it's really like in that video interview he did, like it shows that he was super excited to take this role. And yeah.
That's awesome.
Cool. That's genuine passion and for people in roles like this is really it's good to see. Highly recommend too. Anyone, if we have any Hot Ones fans out there, to watch the Kieran Culkin one that just went up a couple days ago, because he, about halfway through it, goes on this, what seems like it was cut up, but like it seems like a 10-15 minute long rant about how he loves Nintendo, and it's what's coming to mind is something similar, where it's just like, you know, you just seen somebody who's passionate about the thing that they're passionate about, and it's wholesome. That's awesome for this guy though. I love that. I absolutely love that.
Absolutely. Another cool thing from that interview, he talked about, so one of the iconic lines Leon says after he leaves the village section, which is the very first section of the game, where the camera kind of pans out and Leon says, "Where's everyone going? Bingo?" And it's just such a perfect line. And he's like, I wasn't sure if Capcom was going to use it or not, because I recorded that line, but I also recorded alternate lines as well. But apparently the director decided to stick with the original line, which I love that, because it's so good.
It encapsulates that game perfectly. Like, just so campy and so ridiculous, but so good.
Absolutely. So on the backs of this selling 4 million copies, Resident Evil 5 Remake, do we think that could happen? Do you think that they could go back and retool Resident Evil 5 to make it, you know, as good as it possibly, because Resident Evil 5 has a lot of hatred because of it going a much more action focused game than Resident Evil 4 was. Obviously Resident Evil 4 already introduced some action into it, but I would argue doesn't go past the line of too much action like RE5 does. So I'm questioning, maybe they redo Resident Evil 5 like completely.
I was gonna say, would you be opposed to that if they did? If they weren't as faithful, but they kind of took, like almost as a like literally a redo, right? Where it's like if they took the formula of RE4, which even the difference between RE4 and RE2 in terms of gameplay, even though they're both survival horror, is noticeable, I would say, right? Like definitely much more fluid, still very tanky, still made in the RE engine, but still much more fluid compared to RE2. So it's like, I was thinking about this the other day. I think I personally would not be opposed at all if they were like, we're gonna take RE5, the story, the general story of it, and we are going to just remake the game with RE4's gameplay and not bring it up to that next level. Just leave it at RE4's kind of pace. I think that would be awesome, because I'm playing RE4 and like, man, this feels good to play. Like, again, it's way more fluid, but it's still respectful to the old stuff. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, this would be really fun to play with somebody else, which is what got me thinking about Resident Evil 5. And I'm like, fuck, these games, like these new RE remakes would play wonderfully in co-op or in a multiplayer kind of setting. So personally, I would love for them to take the shot. Now, the only thing is like, okay, are we going to get toxic, fanboys and gamers that sort of drown out everybody else's voices by saying, no, if you're going to do it, it has to be exactly like the... Because no, I would love for them to totally redo some of those set pieces and some of those missions, but with RE4's gameplay. Absolutely. Sign me the fuck up. That sounds awesome.
Heck yeah.
I don't have much skin in the game because I haven't played most of them, but from what I've seen online, people do want an RE5 remake, but I also heard another game Code Veronica, I think it was
Yes.
called. That people really want them to do something similar, where they reinvented, fix what was broken, I guess, in that game, and keep what people really liked about it. Because from what I can gather, it was kind of a very mixed. Like some people really love it, and some people don't love it as much. But that was another one that I saw a lot of people saying that they wanted a remake of. So it'd be cool to see if they just keep going with this, because they're knocking it out of the park so far, and just reinventing it for this newer generation.
Which that totally could happen, because I couldn't remember, so I looked it up while you were talking. Code Veronica was re-released on 360 and PS3, like as like a remaster or whatever,
HD thing.
which Resident Evil 4 was as well at that time. So it's definitely a good possibility that they could go back to Code Veronica and do a proper, remake. Cool.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Either way, Capcom, keep doing what you're doing, because you're doing something right.
Hell yeah. Glenn says, "Who cares?" Glenn, we care. Whatever happened to Beyond Good and Evil? It's gone.
Great question.
It's gone, Keurig.
Oh my goodness! It wasn't the last thing that we heard that like the studio was under investigation for something.
Yeah.
I feel like it was like something bad happened, like labor or something.
Not good at all.
Not good at all. Not good at all. Just beyond evil right now.
Yes, beyond evil. Get rid of the good.
Oh boy! Hopefully they can release it someday.
Yeah. And speaking of getting rid of the good, Redfall has announced that they are launching on Xbox consoles with quality mode only being available at launch. Performance mode is being added at a later date. What does this mean? It means that we are getting 4K 30 frames per second on Xbox Series X and 1440p at 30 frames per second on Xbox Series S. Well, that's not great.
Not great.
Yeah, I think especially for a first-person shooter, because they're so much more responsive, and like I feel like the bare minimum these days for a first-person shooter is 60 frames per second. So that is definitely a concern, and yeah, questions whether they should have just delayed the game and made the game correctly from the get-go.
Well, it also brings up questions where it's like, this was supposed to release 2022. You know what I mean? Like, so and this is more of an industry sort of question and not necessarily an Arcane question, because Arcane's been killing it actually.
Right.
But you're absolutely right. Where it's like, you guys were originally shooting for 2022. Now, I say you guys. This very well probably executives above them, but it's like, what product were you planning on delivering? Because, yeah, I don't know. I think my personal sort of headcanon for this is maybe there was some oversight. Arcane usually makes like really good looking, really visually distinct, immersive sims. So maybe they were just kind of used to that and we're optimizing it in that sort of way. But like, Dan, you're right. Like, this is a first person shooter. Not only that, this is a co-op first person shooter,
right?
Which apparently is inspired by things like Borderlands and stuff like that. So definitely should be shooting for that 60 frames. In an action-oriented game, not to mention first-person shooter. So, I don't necessarily think it was done in any sort of malice, or like, oh, we think this is better in 30 frames. I just think that maybe they were kind of just used to making those immersive sims that play a bit slower and that are single player and all that. But, yeah, no, definitely not ideal. I think that outside of getting the game gold, whatever that means nowadays, I think that should be their next priority, is coming up with a performance mode, because that's definitely going to affect review scores for sure.
It's sad. I used to be on the side of like 30 frames doesn't bother me, but now I've been playing so much this generation that there's very little that I've played that's not 60 frames per second that it's jarring to go to something that's 30 frames per second, because it's definitely noticeable at that jump. Especially when I'm playing Halo Infinite's multiplayer at 120 frames per second, and then I jump to 30 frames per second. I'm like, okay, this feels like I'm freaking like dragging through mud, like in comparison.
For sure. I mean, as a full blown PC snob, I will say, like, the difference between 60 and 120 is noticeable, but it's not make or break. The difference between 30 and 60 is absolutely night and day. And I honestly think that if you sat down anyone, gamer or not gamer, or even like your grandma, if you sat them down side by side and you had a TV split down the middle and you had a moving image 30 frames on one side, 60, like that is noticeable. Yeah. That is absolutely noticeable. And yeah, I agree with you. I think 60 frames, I thought it would have been the standard for this generation. It's kind of upsetting that it's not.
You know what? Bring Grandma Warner to episode 200 and she can test it.
Keep, let me tell you something right now, and I've never been more sure of anything in my life. You need to keep Grandma Warner away from me and Chris. You need to keep her as far away as possible.
Oh my goodness.
So let's just leave it at that.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Oh my god. Jeez Louise. I definitely see the difference between 60 and 30, especially recently. I was definitely one of those guys back in the day who's like, I don't see the difference. And then I played and I saw the difference, and I could see it now for sure. But I'm still in the camp where it's not a deal breaker for me. Obviously, I agree with both of you that this should be the norm now with how far technology has gotten. 60 frames should just be how games run these days. But when I saw this, I was like, that sucks for everybody who cares, because I just don't. It's like that's all right. It's a 30 frames per second game, and I think it may be because of the type of games that I play, where I'm just maybe not seeing 60 frames as often as the average gamer is, maybe. So it just doesn't affect me as much. But
it's
I think that's an important part.
It's all because like Nintendo games,
right?
Exactly.
Well, but no, but so even like a racing game at 30 frames, like a racing game at 30 frames is doable. Like that, to me, that's like, okay, like, yeah, you're going to have motion blur or whatever, but like I could, if I wanted to, switch Forza to quality mode and kind of just gawk at the beauty of it. But, and Last of Us Part 1, I played that at 30 frames just because the quality mode was like, holy fuck, I'm playing with the cutscene models, this is insane. But first person shooter, like totally different ball game. Even just the difference between third person and first person, honestly, is just like, if you want to turn around, you're going to want to be able to do that without the screen kind of smudging and blurring. So I think it definitely it matters a lot on what type of games that you normally play. But I think that maybe there might be some people thinking that it's not going to bother them, and they jump into it and they're like, oh, this doesn't, and they might not even be able to put two and two together. But there's something about a first person shooter that at 30 frames that I don't think is going to go over well with people.
And to your point, The Last of Us Part 1, when that came out on PS4, the remaster, I tried to play it again. That was the first time I had tried to play again since the PS4 launch. And I was like, I can't even play this because like the 60 frames per second was so jarring for me. Like it felt fake, I guess, because the original was 30 and it felt more cinematic. So I played a little bit of it on PS4 and then I was like, nah. So that's why I only ever played the PS3 version.
It's like when people on Twitter like up the frames per second for like an old animated show, and it's like, this looks terrible. Why would you do this? Right. And it just looked better when it was 12 frames per second or whatever. But I agree. Like when Destiny went 60 frames per second and I made that jump, it's like, this is insane. This is a crazy difference. And it's probably because I just didn't know the difference. I was playing 30 frames per second since I was on the PS3. But I think I can say that I would still play Destiny in 30 frames per second and have a good time. But yeah, I see what you guys are saying. It's probably just the type of games that I'm into that it's not a big factor for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure. All right. Let's move into our fantasy draft check-in. Fantasy Critic. We don't have any releases this week. However, I do have a little bit of news. Forza Horizon 5 Rally Adventure has fallen to a 79. So, unfortunately, it's 79. I'm only at 9 points for it. I'll get over it. The next game we have coming up is Minecraft Legends, coming from Gage, and it is coming next week. So I would imagine we'll have reviews by this time next week, as well as Horizon Forbidden West Burning Shores DLC, which comes out a week from today. We'll probably have both of those updates for you next. So, nice. Moving on from there, what you got for me, Daniel? I have finished Resident Evil 4 Remake. This is the year of me completing games for once. But man, this game is so freaking good. It's unbelievable. Like, the original Resident Evil 4 was my favorite Resident Evil of all time. It was probably my top 15 games of all time if I had to rank them. I don't know what I would rank it off the top of my head, but Resident Evil 4 Remake clearly and absolutely unequivocally replaces the original game on my top 15 games of all time. This game is so freaking good. It feels so good. It looks so good. It plays so well. It stays very, close to the vest of what the original was. Like, it keeps the main story beats the same while still changing the other stuff, like the puzzles. Many of the puzzles are different, and like the surrounding elements around the game are different. Like, I just love that they pieced all of this together while still making it feel brand new. And like some of the things they expanded on, like Luis, they expanded on quite a bit. I love that. One of the missions that I vaguely talked about last week, I won't talk about spoilerly, but was like really cool what they did with it. And yes, I just love this remake. It feels so good, and Capcom, thank you for bringing us back, because we were all so worried after Resident Evil 6, and that game was terrible. So they really, biggest turnaround in history, I think, after Resident Evil 6. But what a banger of a game. So fun. And this legitimately might be a game where I completed it and I might go back in and play another playthrough right away. Like, that's how much fun I had with it. Yes.
Love those types of games.
Yeah. New Game Plus, maybe. But we'll see. I may not finish that because Star Wars comes out soon. And yeah, time. But anywho, Ro, what you got for me?
Speaking of time, I didn't play anything.
Oh,
nothing. Didn't play anything this week.
You played with all of our hearts.
I did. I'm sorry.
You do that every day.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, Dan, this is the year of completing games for you. This is the year where I completed one game and stopped.
Oh,
it's like, that's it.
What game was it? What was your one game?
Well, I beat Tales of Arise as well, but that was a 2021 game, I think. But the only game from this year that I beat was Hi-Fi Rush. And everything else I'm still in the middle of playing. I guess Lightfall counts, I guess, if you want to count it. But yeah, Hi-Fi Rush that's all I played so far.
What a banger of a game.
What a banger game, though. If that's the only game that I played that year, I'll take it as a win. But yeah, that's all. I mean, that's it. Nothing. I didn't play anything this week. Yeah, hopefully I'll have something to report next week, though.
That's fair. Gage, what you got for me?
Daniel, I've got a whole lot of not very much for you. I chipping away at Resident Evil 4. I think I'm on chapter 10 or 11, something like that.
You still got so many more good moments.
I know, which is great. I love how much content's in this game, and I love how much I am really, again, we've talked about this before, maybe it's because I'm getting older or just the 40-hour work weeks and working full time, but like the semi-open world games, like the sort of hub world, sort of God of War type games, they are just hitting for me right now, because it's like, okay, depending on the play session and how long I've been sitting down, it's like, okay, I know this is the way forward that's going to progress the mission. Or I can go to these 3 rooms, which very clearly are bonus stuff. Like, I just kind of like that. It's that perfect balance between a linear game and an open world game. And I absolutely love it. I cannot recommend Resident Evil 4 Remake enough. It's fantastic.
Gage,
it is an awesome game.
Have you bought the RPG yet in RE4 Remake?
I've not.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you, I kind of cheesed the final boss by accident.
So should I buy the RPG?
Yeah, I saved.
Okay.
I literally bought the RPG like midway through the game because I'm like, at some point I'm going to need this. And then I got to the final boss and I was like, I guess I'll use this. I haven't used it like yet. And then I used it and literally killed him in one shot.
So do you only get one shot with the RPG?
Yes. One time through the whole campaign, you get to use the RPG.
So I'm kind of glad I didn't buy it because I would have been like, "Oh, this is neat."
Yes.
I would have used it. That's my thing. As soon as I buy a new gun, yeah, okay. So I will keep that in mind. But I've been. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I will say I was a little sad that I cheesed it. So maybe I don't recommend doing that because like I did miss out on the boss battle because I just killed him right away.
That's fine. I'll do it. That's fine because you know what's funny is that the final boss battles in any Resident Evil games are the ones I don't enjoy.
No.
Looking back at Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3, the final boss battles are always the ones that go on for just a bit too long, and I'm
okay.
By the time I beat the boss and the credits roll, I'm kind of grumpy because of how long it took. So this sounds perfect. I will buy that RPG.
Oh, stay after the credits too.
We'll see.
Oh, what do you mean?
We'll see. We'll see.
The Resident Evil cinematic universe.
Yeah.
Got us.
No, man, you said that, and I had like an upchuck almost.
Oh, come on.
I don't care.
The RCU? No.
The RCU. No.
The RECU.
RECU. No. Aside from that, what else have I been playing? Nothing. Pretty much nothing. Call of Duty Season 3 dropped today. Jumped back into that. Actually, quite a bit of updates for DMZ. So maybe we should jump into that.
Heck yeah. Down.
Play Resident Evil 4 Remake is the point of this.
Yes. So good. Well, we're gonna have to do a game of the year so far list here soon.
Yes, I put Hi-Fi Rush on
Hi-Fi.
That's it. Next week, Coffee Talk 2 is coming out, though.
Oh.
Definitely gonna play that.
Oh yeah.
And it's on Game Pass, so you don't even have to spend any money.
Is that in your Fantasy Critic?
No, it's not actually.
Oh.
Maybe I should put it in there,
Yeah.
but no, it's not. Yeah.
Buy it. Get it Saturday.
I might do that.
All right, moving into our topic of the show. This will be interesting with only me actually seeing the movie, but here we go. We're gonna do it.
Do it.
Super Mario Brothers movie reviews. But before we get there, it is setting some records, guys. It is the biggest opening day ever for a video game adaptation in the US, the biggest opening day ever for an animated film in 11 plus markets, the second biggest opening day ever in Central America behind Avengers Endgame. Insane. And also, it is, by the way, the biggest 5-day opening for an animated movie ever.
Jesus.
$368 million worldwide. Woo!
Crazy.
Or
absolutely insane. I'm trying to find this tweet that somebody said about the records that were being broken here. It's pretty funny. I don't know if I'm going to find it.
I believe that
everyone's looking at you right now, and they think that you're lying.
I'll just ad lib what I remember of it, but god damn it. What studios are going to take from this is let's make a Pac-Man movie right away and not put effort into it. Is what I think the tweet was, instead of what the takeaway is that people like video games. And people like movies. Put those two together and make it good and put some heart into it. And you got a lot of money in your hands, and you got something that video game fans will enjoy. And I hope that's what people take away from it, and we get more video game adaptations like a Zelda or, I don't know, whatever else you want under the sun. And it's done well, and we don't get these trashy video game adaptations that we've gotten for so long. But we've seemed to be turning a corner recently with Sonic and Pokemon and Cyberpunk Edge Runners and Castlevania and all that kind of stuff. Exactly, Last of Us is huge.
Yeah, so, Halo TV series.
Yes, exactly. Oh my god! But yeah, I'm glad that it's doing so well. But I just hope that the people running these animation companies don't get the wrong idea and start rushing out video game adaptations because they see the big money signs. But that very well may happen where we start getting stuff like Pixels again or whatever that Adam Sandler movie was.
Yes.
God.
That is what will I mean, what'll actually happen is both of those things, right? Because
True.
it all depends on the people signing the checks and whether or not they care.
Yeah.
But and which is unfortunate because your favorite IP that you're waiting to be adapted, you have no control over which one of these people
one it
gets
is.
handed to,
Yeah.
right? So
True.
it's like Dan and I obviously disagree on the Halo TV show, but it's like if Halo had went to HBO and The Last of Us had went to Paramount, we could have been having a whole different conversation.
I don't entirely disagree with you there. I agree with you on that point. Absolutely. Right. Yes.
So that's the one thing that kind of sucks about this, because overall I'm excited. I like seeing I know that the hater boy himself isn't here. I like seeing adaptations. I like seeing stuff from the video games that I'm able to share with people that don't play video games. I like that personally, and I'm very excited about that. There's a little bit of Russian roulette where it's like, well, let's see where my favorite IP is going to end up, because
it's fair.
If everything goes, if every video game that the three of us were excited about went to HBO, I'm sure none of us would have any issues. But who knows where it's going to end up? So, overall, I'm excited. I'm excited for this. I like that video game adaptations are doing well, and I would love. Who wouldn't want to see a Red Dead Redemption HBO series? Are you kidding? That'd be fucking amazing.
Jack Black was saying the exact same thing. Believe it or not. He was like, I want a Red Dead movie, because after seeing The Last of Us or something like that.
Yeah, that would be awesome, dude. That would be so great.
And now, obviously, it depends on the creators, but like even HBO is going through a change process right now with changing their name, and who knows what that's going to encompass. Is that going to make HBO less of a name because of that? Like, is the quality going to go down because they're, essentially becoming a bigger conglomerate? Hopefully not. But like, even just saying HBO may not mean anything in a few years.
That's a very good point. That is a really good point, because they are what's the head honcho of that company? Is it Warner?
Yes, they're combining Warner. Discovery and HBO. Yeah, right.
So that's the thing. HBO has been an excellent network because the executives in charge happen to give a shit. That's the only reason HBO is good. They put money into their projects, because like you have things like AMC. I always use this example. The Walking Dead, the core puzzle pieces of The Walking Dead season 1 and 2, everyone in front of the camera, everyone behind the camera, fucking excellent. But the executives in charge didn't give a shit. Yeah. So that's the only reason why HBO currently to this day, like all the way from the mid 90s to today, is so good, is because the executives actually do maybe not care, but know what it takes to like actually get the final product that they want. So that's a very good point, Dan, because they are not owned. HBO is not owned by HBO. HBO is part of a larger company. So that's a very good point. Hopefully that trend doesn't continue, because honestly, I think we're already starting to see that with House of the Dragon and Last of Us, which are both really good relative to other TV shows, but definitely seem a bit rushed, yes. And they just announced that the House of the Dragon season 2 is going to have 8 episodes, which is 2 less than normal and 1 less than season 1. And I'm getting worried that that they're maybe feeling the pressure from other companies. But assuming that doesn't happen, this is nothing but good news. And I love seeing celebrities like Rashan said, like Jack Black, being super passionate about this too, because there is a lot of overlap. And as I mentioned earlier, the Kieran Culkin Hot Ones interview, like, he's obviously a established actor, but there's a lot of people that could sort of use their star power to bring these sort of passion projects to light. And I'm here for it. I'm absolutely here for it.
Jack Black is a national treasure. That man
he is
amazing. And speaking of him, fans on Twitter are noticing that one song from the Super Mario Brothers movie lines up perfectly with a scene that leads to speculation that it was cut and replaced at the last minute. I led that in with Jack Black because he has an amazing song in Super Mario Brothers. Not to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it.
Is it a musical?
Is Mario the movie a musical?
Yeah.
No.
Okay,
no,
good.
It's absolutely not. But Jack Black is Jack Black, so absolutely he has a song in it.
That's fair. But as soon as you said he's got his own song, I was like, fuck, does everybody have their own song? Does Mario sing a song when he gets
Chris Pratt starts
singing
not
right, belting out show tunes? No,
not like that. But
Okay, good.
this news story, the Mario movie track Driving Me Bananas beautifully adapts the Donkey Kong Country theme and Donkey Kong Island swing for the big screen. Truly wonderful work by Brian Tyler Music and Koji Kondo. Now imagine if Nintendo/Illumination brought David Wise on board to help compose for the DK movie. So interesting. Somebody followed up with this and said it had to have been a last minute decision that this track was literally tailor made for the scene. And I'm not going to spoil the scene or anything, but there was no reason why it needed to be replaced with. Should I say the song that it was replaced with, or do you want me to leave that out?
I know what the song is called. I don't know if Gage cares though.
I don't care.
Okay. So if you don't want to hear this, move on. But about 10 seconds. But Take On Me is the song they decided to use in the scene, which it worked fine when I watched it. I thought it was kind of a cool moment, but when I came back and saw this after I saw the movie, I was like, yeah, that's kind of disappointing because this track bangs. And like, obviously original music is way cooler, especially when it harpens back to the games of Donkey Kong. I would much prefer having that than just an established song that already is out there. So yeah, I don't know. That was just one disappointing thing from the movie. But our reviews, guys. I don't know how we're gonna do reviews.
Our reviews.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it a 3.5 out of 5.
A 3.5. Wow. Okay. That's all right.
Based on absolutely
Based on literally nothing.
Wait, is that Christian talking?
No, it's me. Hey guys, want to take gummies and giggle?
Fantastic.
Oh man.
Well, I mean, I could talk about my review and then you guys could just talk about whatever you would like because obviously you guys haven't seen it. This was a gaff on,
I guess.
Yes, that's fair.
We should explain. We thought Christian was going to be here, in which case we'd have two people to bicker about this.
I will take 100% ownership in this gaff. I completely forgot that Christian was not going to be here this week. And of course, Christian suggested this segment as the topic of the show. And
Dan,
I was like,
don't beat yourself up.
What? That's fine. I'm going to do that. And then, yeah, I'm the only one who's seen it. But anywho. All right. So harping back to our conversation last week, we were talking about, story and like how important it is. And I know I get Christian's side of things. Like he wants to have an incredible story every time. And I'm not saying that I think that writers should settle for something less than incredible storytelling and writing and such. My thing was, even before watching the movie, and it still reigns true after seeing it, is this movie illustrates perfectly what Mario is. Like this movie literally is a beautiful adaptation of what Mario is. Mario has never hit me hard in terms of storytelling or anything like that. The characters are awesome, of course. Like they all have their own personalities and everything. But let's face it, every single Mario game, Princess Peach is in trouble. Let's go get her. Like that's essentially what the Mario stories are. And I think the movie definitely had a more interesting story than that. But like it is a very base level story for movies. So I get where Christian's coming from when he says that. When I compare it to the Mario IP, it doesn't bother me as much because I'm like, this is what I expected out of this. But again, as we talked about, this whole movie is packed full of Easter eggs and cool music and amazing references and everything in between. And that's the part of this movie that makes it really like interesting and good. I don't think there was anything in this movie that I absolutely loved, adored, like this incredible like experience or anything like that. I think this movie was I think it was good. I enjoyed it. All of those reasons why I just said, the Easter eggs and such were just such cool moments to experience. I do think the story was lacking a bit, even with it being a base level story. I think that the performances were absolutely incredible. Jack Black, absolutely fantastic. Keegan-Michael Key as Toad was awesome. And even like Chris Pratt did a great job. Like, we were questioning it, or I was questioning it on the first, trailer that we listened to, because we just got the little peek, but then we heard the next one and I was like, all right, this is fine. I don't see why people are complaining about this. And watching the movie, like, I think he did a fantastic job. There's also some really cool voice Easter eggs that I'm not going to spoil, but I think were awesome. And there's multiple. And yeah, this movie just wraps all of my nostalgia and love of Mario into a really cool experience. And yeah, I don't have anything negative in terms of like, performances. I think were the biggest highlight for me. Even her name escapes me. The one who voices Peach, Anna?
Anya, not Anya. Is it Anya? Anya Taylor-Joy?
Yeah. She did a great job as well. So yeah, the only one that I'll probably get some hate for this, but the only one I'm a little iffy about in terms of performances is Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong. I felt like it didn't necessarily fit. I thought it was fine, but like certain moments, like it just got really jarring for me, because I don't want to spoil anything for you guys. So like it's tough for me to say this without saying it, but like essentially it sounded too much like Seth Rogen, which is the point, because Seth Rogen doesn't do voices. He said multiple times he doesn't do voices, because they went to him and they were like, hey, if you do this, you got to just be, I'm just going to be myself, because I don't do voices. So I think that's the biggest jarring thing for me going into this movie, was like, all right, that's just Seth Rogen. This isn't,
And that was a big reason as to why people were skeptical on Chris Pratt, because at first it just sounded like Chris Pratt talking.
Right.
So I can see why that may have been. I mean, again, Donkey Kong doesn't have an iconic voice like Mario does. He doesn't usually talk. Yeah. So, but still, I imagine it was weird just hearing Seth Rogen's voice come out of Donkey Kong for the first time. When he does have a voice, he sounds like Seth Rogen.
Yes. Yeah. It was just a little jarring. Like, I think Seth was fine performance wise, but I don't know. It just didn't quite mesh for me in that regard. But I don't know. So I think overall I'd give it an 8 out of 10. I thought it was good.
Nice.
Good start. But again, like, they can't just keep the base layer, story. It has to evolve from here for me to keep being interested in more movies, I think.
Do you think we'll, based on... Oh, sorry?
Sorry, what?
Oh, I think you said it'll be right back.
Oh, okay.
I think. But based on what you saw, do you think we're gonna get more Mario movies or Nintendo movies?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah,
that's exciting.
There's no doubt about it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and make sure you stay for the mid-credit scene and post credits.
And post-credit scene. Okay.
Yes.
This post-credit scene isn't a freaking which movie was that? I mean, Doctor Strange had a pretty crappy one too. Multiverse of Madness. But there's
the one where
with
just
like
a trailer?
No, there was one with like the one that I just brought up was like the guy who got punched in the face, and he at the end he's like it's over, it's finally over, and everyone was like, the hell is this? But there was one with Captain America specifically that I remember seeing as like, wow, I stayed for that. Is that the kind of post credit scene that we're getting, or is like, wow, that hypes me up?
It's absolutely worth staying for. I'll say that.
That's good. That's good. It's not like a gag or anything.
So I will
or
say,
even if it is, is it a worthy gag?
Everyone in my theater got up after the credits started rolling, and they started getting their things. The mid credit scene played, and everyone like stopped what they were doing and looked.
Sat back down.
And then no, they looked, watched it, and that finished, and it went back to the normal credits. Everyone cleared out. Cleared out. Almost everyone. There was a select few left. I looked it up on my phone because I hadn't looked to see if there was another credit scene, while my nieces and nephew and my mom and my sister and my brother were all getting up to leave. They all went out to the lobby. I pulled it up on my phone, still standing there in the theater. Like, I'm like one of the only ones left. And I'm like, oh shit, there is a scene. I ran down the tunnel and I was like, no, come back. There's still another scene. I got
There's
all of
still
them back
more.
in there, and it was totally worth it. I thought it was
worth it.
cool. Yeah.
Nice.
So
Okay, cool. Good.
Yeah.
It's good to know. I'm excited. I'm hopefully going to see it this weekend.
heck
I
yeah.
hope. But yeah, I look forward to it. I look forward to the potential, as you said, for more movies in the Nintendo universe. If it's by Illumination, I guess that's okay because they're really pretty. I would love it if other studios got a opportunity to take a crack at it to potentially give it more story.
Yeah.
But at the very least, it's going to be a pretty movie based on this one.
And that's another great point. Like Illumination is very much a kids studio. Like they make kids stories. Not to say that a kid's story can't be like complex, but like it's aimed at little kids. Like that's what the target audience is, I feel like.
And Illumination more than most animated studios is like
yes,
Minions,
yes,
Secret Life of Pets, like super
absolutely,
even more kids than the Disney and the DreamWorks and stuff.
Yes. So yes, I agree with you. I think it would be cool to see more studios get a chance at. Although I will say Illumination did a fantastic job with the animation and the art style. Visually, it was phenomenal.
Definitely. Can't wait.
Heck yeah.
8 out of 10 from Dan.
8 out of 10. Gage, are you going to watch it?
Yes, probably.
All right. Well, I don't think he was talking to us. I heard. You have anything else you want to say about Super Mario Brothers movie before we close out the show? Do you have any questions for me, as me being someone who's seen
the
it?
expert? Yes. The post credit one was my big one.
That's fair.
And you answered the question about the potential of more movies after
Yes,
that.
That's fair.
I don't know if I have any more. Do you have like a favorite part of the movie that wouldn't be super spoilery? Like you could say like because I know it's in the movie, like the cart ride or the Smash Brothers area with Donkey Kong, like, but maybe not without spoiling. I guess it might be hard.
It's hard without spoiling it. I will say one of my favorite moments was with Mario and Peach together, kind of for the first time. Not necessarily the first meeting of them, but like the first time that they were kind of doing something together. I thought that was really cool. And then like there was one really cool moment in the near the beginning of the movie, which again I'm not gonna spoil it, with Mario and Luigi, that I freaking loved. It was so cool. And yeah, I can't wait till you see it so we can talk about it. But just how it was cinematically like framed, that's the best way I can describe it without spoiling it, was so cool to see on screen. So yeah, very cool stuff. I'm excited for you to see it, bro. I think you'll like it.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see it too.
Heck yeah. All right, guys.
All right.
Well, anything else before I close it out?
That's
I think that's it.
Okay. That is it. Thank you again to everyone joining us live on YouTube and Twitch, as well as podcast services everywhere, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere else you get your podcasts. Of course, Kirik and Glenn, thank you guys for joining us. And thank you, Ro. And thank you, Gage. Christian will return next week. I am Daniel, and this has been Podcast PXN, and we are out. Much love, and keep on gaming.
See ya.
Adios.